Cape Verde defied all the odds in their 0-0 draw against Spain, but what were the tactics behind their defensive masterclass? Ahead of kickoff, Cape Verde were expected to sit in a 4-2-3-1 base shape, defend in a low to mid block, and counter at pace when a chance arrived. Spain were tipped to utilise wing play heavily, as well as fluid rotations from midfielders. Overlapping fullbacks would also be a key feature of their attacking play. Spain enjoyed plenty of attacking waves as they had 74% possession, 51 touches in Cape Verde's box, 27 shots but only 2 big chances. Cape Verde defended superbly, registering 40 duels, 18 tackles, 46 clearances and most impressively conceded just 1 foul. Altogether, Spain made 606 passes in Cape Verde's half, so why couldn't they find the breakthrough? Let's take a look at the tactics board to find out. Okay, so we will start with this base shape that we expected from Cape Verde before kickoff. So they set up in this 4-2-3-1 as we predicted. So the back four just here, 2 in midfield, 3 forwards, and then out of the frame you'd have your forward. And of course as well, Spain utilising that wing play as we expected. This is Cucurella just here, getting ready to make that run down the flank. I think a really key point to make here is that Spain had a lot of numbers going forward. So here in this attack, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players coming forward here. So you've got the front three, you've got your midfielder and Fabian Ruiz pushing up, you've got Cucurella making what is an underlapping run in this example. But they had plenty of numbers forward. It wasn't an issue where they were being overdone through a lack of wanting to go forward. They really did go for it. They threw the kitchen sink at Cape Verde in the end, which I think they probably didn't expect to have to do. But Cape Verde just defended really well in numbers, and we'll get on to just how many they had in that back line at certain points. But this is that base shape that we were talking about, that 4-2-3-1. And then from there, everything sort of adapted around that basic shape. I want to take a look at this moment because this was a point that I mentioned in the supporting article with just how hard the Cape Verde defenders worked, and Cabral here, who is making the recovery run all the way from back here, actually gets back before Spain managed to get their shot off. So he makes a really good recovery run all the way down here, and the ball actually comes into feet of Ferran Torres initially. Ferran Torres makes the run forward, comes into feet, he lays it off to Orzabajal. And really, from this position here, if you know it's going to come inside and then be played forward, Spain, some of the best some of the best players in world football, this situation, just from looking at the still image, this situation seems nailed on to be a goal. But the recovery run Cabral makes just illustrates just how hard-working this Cape Verde team were against Spain. So as you can see from the time up the top, just 5 seconds later, Cabral has managed to come all the way from back here, way out of frame. Orzabajal on the ball there. And amongst all of this, he's managed to get back. And he didn't actually put a challenge in, he didn't win the ball, but he also didn't catch his opponent either. But it's just the case of a lot of Cape Verde's defending wasn't necessarily getting a touch in, it was just putting them off. And there were so many bodies in and around that box to a point where Spain just couldn't even get a look in because there just wasn't enough time and space. So although that's not so much of a tactical theme, I thought it was really key to highlight that because that's the perfect example of just how hard they work. Yes, they sat in a mid to low, but it was a low block 9 times out of 10. But actually when they got caught out and Spain transitioned quickly, which obviously they are very good at, Cape Verde were just excellent at recovering quickly, getting back in position and putting the attacker off before they had the opportunity to get a shot away. Okay, so here's another example where the low block is set up really well, but we're starting to adapt from a 4-2-3-1 to a 4-5-1. At some points it looked like a 4-4-2, and then you'd notice just a defender drop in there. So what's happened is, we mentioned the fluid rotations from Spain, and just here, I put an arrow just above his head, is Fabian Ruiz. So he's left midfield, he's joined that front line. What's also happened is we've got Marc Cucurella, who's pushed up, and Marcus Llorente, who's pushed up. So both fullbacks have joined the attack, and in response to that, we've got a 5-back from Cape Verde. We've got 4 in midfield, and we've got the lone striker. What's really interesting about this midfield four is the distance between them, because the proper back four is really, really tight for Cape Verde. They've got one player that's joined to make the back five, slightly further away, just man marking Fabian Ruiz. And then we've got, as that midfield four, the two wide players in that four are really, really aware of what's going on behind them. So on the right hand side, it's Cucurella. On the left hand side, it's Marcus Llorente. And that is why Spain struggled so much, because the 4-2-3-1 is really adaptable in terms of how you can manoeuvre players, whether that's going forward or sitting back as they did here. So at some points, which we'll get onto, this was far more than a five back. There were so many Cape Verde players in their own box that Spain were just overrun. There was nowhere for them to go, and eventually they just start popping off these shots that they were never going to score in order to just try and do something. As I said earlier, 27 shots but only 2 big chances created. There's a big question mark there, and we'll get onto it. And Spain just got frustrated in the end, because typically against a side like this, the answer is numerical advantages out on the wing via your fullbacks. But Cape Verde had a response to that. They dropped to a 5-4-1, sat really low, and those wide players in that four were super, super alert to the fact that they might have to actually become part of the back line as well. And in some instances, that meant having almost a six-back. So, in this particular example, just before half-time, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've got 6 across the back line here, 3 in midfield, and again that lone striker just here. And again, the reason that there's that 6 is because these two wide players are super aware of the fullbacks coming in to join the attack. For Spain, there were plenty of crosses and chances coming in, but they were put off by the bodies. There were so many shots where it almost looked half-hearted, to the point where they just didn't want to quite go for it 100%, because there was just a Cape Verde player just absolutely flying in. And I don't want to say there was a fear, but there was certainly a hesitation on some shots, where it was just almost they saw this white shirt in their peripheral vision just absolutely bombing across and then coming in for a tackle. Like I say, whether or not they won it, it didn't matter. They only conceded 1 foul, so the tackles were good, and if they didn't win the ball, they weren't catching a Spain player either. So they were just putting them off just enough to either weaken that shot, make them miss, or make them not take it at all. Again, another perfect example from the second half. We've got 10 Cape Verde players in the box. Again, lone striker there. 10 out of 11 players in the box. Only Livramento out there to counter. And it just forced Spain to go for these low XG opportunities. So what happened from here is that Llorente played backwards, cross came in, and it was easily dealt with because they've got 10 players in the box. And again, by no means were Spain being conservative here. They've got 6 players in the box. Gavi wasting on the outside for the rebound. So they've got plenty of bodies going forward as well. But Cape Verde just held so firm. And in the end, it was just volume that shut out Spain. As the game progressed, Spain started to get really impatient. So an example here, this is Aymeric Laporte on the edge of the box. And we've got that 5 across the back line again there. A 6th ready to drop in case Llorente makes the run. Wide player here aware of Cucurella. And another theme that I really noticed throughout was almost this triangle of press. So you'd have the striker leading it, and then 2 would almost hover just behind to create this triangle, just as another line of protection. And then if it came across to this way, for example, instead this player would lead the press and the triangle would shift across. It was just another really clever movement that made it really difficult for Spain to do anything. And the fact that you've got Aymeric Laporte taking a shot from 25-30 perhaps yards out just shows just how frustrated they were. This shot in particular had an XG of 0.03, so only a 3% chance of scoring from that situation. Final image here. So we mentioned that ahead of kickoff the expectation was that when the opportunity arose, Cape Verde would counter and counter with speed. Now on the rare occasion that they did get the chance, they did it really well, and they had a golden opportunity here right at the death. They got out really well, and that was another key theme. They could go from having 6 players across the back line to all of a sudden just bursting forward, and that's a really hard thing to do. I think especially people are talking about the climate there, transitioning with such speed and such efficiency in the 90th minute is something that shouldn't go underlooked. Beautiful run being made here, lovely ball over the top into that space. More players making the supporting runs forward, backline getting out. It's all really impressive, and for a team that's ranked 64th in the world, not only did they defend superbly, but when given the opportunities they were brave and they did go for it, and I think that's really commendable. Spain, to be fair to them, got back really well. You can see across here they've got 6 players in that front line, just across this square zone here, but they all got back. And I think the risky run with being really offensive and, you know, throwing the kitchen sink at a team all throughout the 90 minutes is that at the end, that's when the tired legs kick in, and they could have been caught out here, but fair play to them. They got back superbly, and it did actually force Cape Verde to go back and then take their own long distance effort. Overall, a defensive masterclass. Cape Verde defenders literally threw themselves at absolutely everything, and Spain just couldn't find the breakthrough. And it's really interesting because Cape Verde have Uruguay next, who experienced a similar shutout against Saudi Arabia. That game ended 1-1, but Uruguay dominated. They had the lion's share of possession, had far more touches. I think they had 41 touches in Saudi Arabia's box. Uruguay had 27 shots, 10 on target. Saudi Arabia had just 3 on target, 1 big chance and took it. So you do wonder if Cape Verde could do it again. Uruguay have just been frustrated in the same way that Spain were, held to a draw in a game that they were probably expected to win. And if Cape Verde defend as well as they did against Spain, they could potentially cause another shock. If Cape Verde managed to get a point from Uruguay, having already done so against Spain, Group H is blown wide open.